Well, day one of the survival stage has concluded, and what an exciting turnout it was for teams that underperformed during group play who showed out strong when it matters most. Top 8, by the way, move forward to our finals day. The bottom 8, we're cutting it in half. They get fully eliminated. Their run during PMWC will come to an end. Let's talk about our team in first place, which is Fireflux. 2 wins for the day. They start off with a big winner chicken dinner, but then they finish off in sensational fashion in game number 6, taking the win with a solo of Catch, who pulled off a miraculous comeback, going against the world and finishing as the top dog. In second place was Power. With a great start in game number 2, they get a big win, and we start to realize Power is bringing that power. Totally night and day performance from their group play over into survival stage. They clearly did their homework, and Power is looking to go all the way. But Ragnar Karya, a team that had much hype coming into the competition, especially in group play, well, they show what they are truly made of in the survival stage. They come up, they step up, and they also podium in 3 separate games. And with the eliminations, that puts them up there in top 3. But R8 was the fun one to watch all day long, playing spoiler to so many different rosters, including Team Falcons in back-to-back maps. R8 is a team that refuses to go out without a fight, and in fact, even still in Game 5 Miramar away from Team Power with just 2 players, they took on 2 rosters, and they ended up on top of game number 5. Falcons, a lot was on the line for them, right? A lot of questions of how well they will do going into the survival stage, because group play, they only managed to secure around 20 or so points, desperately missing the threshold of top 8. But for Team Falcons, yes, they did perform, and Narvalo stole the show with a big 1v3 against the roster of Alpha 7, looking to go back-to-back. But let's talk about Alpha 7, because they're currently in 11th place. Their struggles continue from group play into the survival stage. We asked Revo, would the pressure be mounting up? Well, clearly it has been. They are outside of top 8, and they desperately need to claw their way up towards the point threshold. If they can reach top 8, they will go to finals. If they don't, their tournament run will come to an end, and so for their hopes and dreams of going back-to-back will be over with. As well as Vision, who's also been on the struggle bus, currently in 12th place. Look, tomorrow is day 2. There are teams that need to step it up, and there are other rosters who just need to keep doing what they are doing. Let's see what day 2 has for us for the survival stage.
Fast and Furious is the name of the day here for Survival Stage Day 2, and it might have FF in the name, but it's all Fireflux at number 1 here, looking to continue to dominate this position. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kalaris, to break down everything that may be going on throughout the day here for the Survival Stage. And joining me to my left-hand side, I have Seven, I have Neptura, I have Max Man. I'm not going to talk to Max, don't really care too much. Well, why you? No, nothing from you. You didn't miss me yesterday. No, you can you can pick your pouty face. It's fine. But we've got a lot to talk about here, guys. Of course, Survival Stage Day 2 here, 7. An opportunity for these teams to move through into that grand final or be eliminated, stricken from the roster.
That's right. I mean, we had some teams that actually ended up surprising us. They didn't perform that well in group stage, especially towards the top. Power, this is a completely different team, Natur.
It absolutely is. It's night and day, and this is the Power we've been wanting to see. We've been following them for a little bit, right? We were watching Mina, PMSL Mina, right? We were trying to see what they had in store. We didn't see that much, and then we continued that trajectory into the group stage as well, so we were kind of like, it's looking a little dicey for this team, but then coming into survival stage, it's been, like I said, night and day. This is a completely different team. I would like to see maybe a little bit more consistency from them, but yesterday was still a really good day for them.
Yeah, I mean, Fireflux and Power have been looking great, but Ragnar Karya, let's not forget, okay, this is a team that wants to try and win it all, especially for Silas. He wants to do the Grand Slam, winning every global event out here. But you know, I'm very happy about the positive storylines that teams are going to move on to the finals.
Yeah.
I love seeing teams getting eliminated. It's my favorite thing. So I'm very, very hyped to see who's going to go out.
So you're saying that the curse is a bit of a selfish thing more than anything? I see. Right, we've got the Jamil Motorsports arrival for the day here, as all of these teams will be leaving the hotel and making their way to the venue in just a few moments' time. As we mentioned before, Fireflux riding high on this. For some of these teams, like Influence Rage and the Brazilian teams across the board, they're going to have to step up quite a bit here. There was a step up, though, Neptura from good old Falcons, who, relative to the group stage, we weren't super impressed with what they were doing, but now here in the survival, they've come out to play.
They have. I really enjoy watching them yesterday because that is exactly what we wanted to see from them. Again, it's the same with Power. They've got a little bit more to go, but actually looking back over those points, they had 4 top 5s out of 6 games. And that sort of thing, that sort of consistency is really what you want to build on. I want to kind of contrast that with Power, as we were saying, right? They got 2 wins yesterday, or 2 top 3s. Was it 2 wins? I think it was 2 wins. Yeah, it was 2 wins. Looking at my notes is a good idea. But the elims were really good, but after those 2 wins, they didn't even have any top 5s or top 10s after that. It was all bottom of the pile. Whereas Falcons, they were able to actually get 4 top 5s out of 6 games. And if Falcons could actually build on that, get those eliminations as well as the placement, for Power, do the same thing, but just be a little bit more consistent, you got 2 very good teams coming out of the board.
It's the reason why Falcons picks up a roster like this, right? We take a look at the Gadia top players and see if Falcons is able to make an appearance in all of that. I won't be surprised if they did, considering what we saw from them in the survival stage to get things a roll in 7. Plenty of stuff coming in from the big Power teams.
Yeah, and I think I want to kind of break down a little bit more with Power, because we got a chance to talk to Easy, we got a chance to talk to Haji. They were able to tell me they're playing pretty much what I said yesterday. They're playing like they are in PMSL MENA. They're not really being scared. They're being able to control a big chunk of the ground. And the main factor, I feel like, that we were able to see as well, Maxman, was the third party. This team is now willing to third party, and this due to that control that they have, that they're kind of allowing themselves to scout.
Yeah, I mean, especially on the Orangles, right? Power have been very, very present on the 2 main battlegrounds of Orangle and Miramar. Just like in PMSL MENA, as you said, they are trying to play a little bit closer to how they were doing back in the qualification stage for this PMWC, and they're looking just way more confident. And we see more of Al-Hadji in particular, which is, I was very shocked in the group stage. Al-Hadji was just not doing anything nearly as close to what we initially expected, and he's here finally on the board. The MVP contender here from MENA is here to play.
Good stuff, considering that it really is do or die when it comes to the survival stage. Very, very difficult to really go up against some of these teams. I think we had some of our concerns about how they would kind of approach the survival stage after seeing the group stage go down. But let's take a look at the Crunchyroll reactions here from all of our players as well, because there's been a plenty. Emotions are riding high, Neptura. I think it's understandable considering that they're in the danger zone right now. But some of these teams are going to feel very confident coming into day 2, considering, I would say, the lead that they've put up. They need a few more points to get them into that final.
Especially when you have your cutoff point is halfway through the lobby. 8 people, 8 teams are going through. So there is a lot of that. Nice. No, there is a lot of that sort of more comfortable feeling coming into day 2 for those teams. If you did have a really good day, like the Falcons, like the Regnum Carias of the world, like Power as well, you are looking at these teams going, actually, today is not going to be that bad. We just have to not be horrible, and we should be good. Just don't be Alpha 7.
Okay, I didn't expect you to hit on that one. Okay, Alpha 7 is going to be in trouble on this segment, I can tell you that much. I mean, you're saying that teams are going to look quite comfortable and happy. I feel like it's going to be really rough today, because you've got a few teams already pretty much soft qualified, like your Fireflux, your Power, your Regnum Carias, but in the middle of the pack, it is going to be changing all day until we get to like the last 2-3 matches. Then teams might start to get locked in the top 8.
Well, let's take a look at the top 8 as well as the overall standings here for the survival stage whilst we continue to talk about this 7, because yes, some teams, as Max says, potentially soft locked as long as they get a little bit here and there, but of course there is an omission here from the top 8 that everybody's looking at, and if they don't make it, oh boy, that causes a whole can of worms to open.
I think the teams currently towards the top 4, I feel like, have me just set in mind that they're going to be moving on to the grand finals the way that they've been able to play. And even though number 4, Team Falcons, and number 5, Nonstream Red Force, they're currently tied within points. Nonstream Red Force just hasn't been able to show me the consistency that I usually want to see out of the teams that have been able to be there towards the top. Pora Esports, though, is going to be a big name for me. I'm really intrigued to see what this team is going to be doing, especially towards the later of the day, because if they do end up possibly being in a good position, could they maybe target somebody? Because I got a chance to talk to Sleepy right before this, and I straight up asked him, are you going to be targeting any teams if you're already pretty much qualifying towards the grand finals? He said, yes, we have one team in mind. He just wouldn't tell me which team, Neptura.
Speculation is just abounding over what team that could possibly be. To be honest, it could be any of them, though, because I think the point in-game, the point of targeting a team is to garner momentum and just try and get rid of a team very early, get those points on your tally immediately, because then I think in your mindset, when you've already won a match, or a fight rather, so early in the game, you're able to go into the rest of the game with so much more confidence, so much more momentum.
Yeah.
So for me, for Hora, who have been a little lackluster so far, I really do feel like that's the way to go.
Here's the problem, though, Max. Number 11. Alpha 7, our current returning title defenders here for PMWC. Are they going to make it?
I'm going to tell you, in that position, they're looking mighty hot droppable.
Is that your theory?
Maybe that's the team to eliminate early on. It would be very weird to have a finals without Alpha 7, possibly, right? That would be such a big outlier when it comes to storylines.
Yeah.
But Alpha 7... last year, they had such a good year until PMGC. We don't talk about PMGC. Otherwise, PMWC, PMGO, PMSL Americas, they were on absolute fire. And the fact is not just Alpha 7, all of the Brazilian teams aren't performing. Intense Game, Influence Rage, all on that second page, which is a big shocker to me. So, are we going to have a Brazil-ness finals? No Brazilian teams in the finals. That's a word we'll have to think about it, yeah. But no Brazilian teams will be weird.
You're so eloquent, Max. Let's shift gears here for a second, though, guys, and actually talk about the number one, right? Obviously, here for survival, looking brilliant. Fire Flux here. Talk to me about this position. Let's take a look at those top 4 teams looking brilliant overall. Fireflux, though, in number 1, 7, looking really, really impactful, really strong. From game 1, I want to say, of all of yesterday.
I think that set the precedent for the whole day for this team. It's pretty much how they were going to be playing. They played it very careful, very tactical, and very passive, which is a big difference because right from the first day of group stages, something that we've been saying all along is that this whole lobby is very aggressive. This team is not wanting to do that. They have definitely adjusted to that. They're saying, you know what, let's let the other teams fight, and then if we get into a situation where we can actually gatekeep teams, let's actually go ahead and do that. And you can tell right there on the left side is going to be, I believe, the stats from group stage, and then on the right side is going to be what they were able to achieve yesterday, which is just insane. They have already surpassed everything, and I'm hoping that they continue on this track. The big question mark for me for this team, especially today, Neptura, is going to be, can they actually be a little bit more aggressive? Because sometimes they set themselves up to be too passive and allow teams to just push up on them, and then what could have possibly been a win, it ends up hindering them.
Especially in a lobby that so far has been so huge on setups and trying to set up specifically in the mid-game, getting as much control as possible, playing that edge. We've seen many of those teams do that, and eventually one of those teams is going to fall. With the performance we've seen from Fireflux so far, I feel like, yes, it's been a huge uptick from what we saw in the group stage, but they don't have that background of aggressiveness, to put that word out there, that actually makes me confident that they're going to be able to fight against those teams that did have a really good stage. It's, again, about that momentum, about that confidence. When you've only had 6 games, as good as those games were, of good games, it's concerning.
One thing I did like about the stats there for the head-to-head is they had actually more knocks going into the initial stage of the group stage, but actually a lot more confirms coming through here in the survival stage, which shows to me they maybe don't take as many fights, but the fights they take are a lot more decisive, a lot more snappier. They go for fights very aggressively, and that shows to me that they're a team that have changed their game plan significantly from group to survival stage, and that is a change that, as we saw, was very successful yesterday.
I think also they show international quality by being able to bookend the day, right? We win one, okay, we have a little bit of a less impactful midday, but then at the end, right back at it. So they've shown some international class there. 2 other teams, though, that have shown that similar international class, Power as well as Falcons here. Going head-to-head, this is presented by Saudi National Bank here for the head-to-head, and obviously 2 Titans, really, of this region, 7, have now found themselves in a spot where Power's outshining Falcons a little bit, not by much, but definitely in terms of those kills, the eliminations, I should say, doing very well for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to damage, elims too, damage received too, Power has just been on point, and it just comes down to what I was saying earlier in regards to just being able to just hold control.
Yeah.
Having 1-2-1 splits has been working wonderful for this team. Now, going over to Falcons, something I want to see is better decision making. Even though you do end up with the top 4 finish, this is a team that I'm going to be having going to the grand finals, and the decision was a little bit spotty, even though they had amazing rotations. I feel like we can all agree we saw the best rotation of the tournament yesterday in Erangel.
Oh, that Erangel game was just beautiful. The way they moved from the northern side to Rozhok onto Rozhok Hill to take control. They do fumble in the way they do try and engage onto Alpha 7. That was quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that one play alone showed potential that this team, they're back, they're live, they're ready to make into top 8 and remain in the top 8 after today's 6 matches.
Yeah, and I think that is something that I think is the biggest thing they need to improve on, because they do have that foundation of they can get to the top 5. They have incredible rotations. I loved what I saw in Rozhok. However, it's those final few moments when they have to make the last 2 decisions to actually win the game. That's where they end up fumbling. So for today, we need to see that follow through with those really good decision making.
Yeah, I think that's astute. I think they obviously are looking at themselves and position themselves today. Hopefully we can see that actually come to fruition. But now we've had a bit of a change up when it comes to the power rankings. As wait a minute,
What's this? Hey, yo!
I didn't know we were going to have that kind of change coming in. So we've got advanced to the finals, eliminated. And then, you know, Maxman's doing his Maxman thing, 7. He's definitely there. I didn't expect 3 of the same logo, though.
I just picked Revo as MVP. I didn't mean for the entire team to be down there.
Are you causing problems, Max?
I mean, I did cause problems for Phallic in PMSL CSA. It's grown stronger. You know,
There's no way you can eliminate our former champion here in this moment. This is ridiculous, 7.
He did it at PMGC. As soon as you pick Alpha 7, I was like, oh, we're cooked. We're absolutely cooked.
I'm just a scapegoat for every team. It's like, oh, it's Maxman. It's just...
You are actually.
It's just too on point
I mean,
sometimes.
actually, you should be charging these teams a fee at this point.
I was going to say, like, I'll send my PayPal information. You guys just reach out, okay? We'll make it work out. But no, some teams said just don't talk about them, and I'll just stay quiet. I have a list of teams. I might bring it out later. I can't predict. We'll see who's on there.
I did see that you were messaged by many a team. Nepture, I'm assuming that they're not quite messaging you regarding please don't predict us. They're probably saying, oh, well, you know, we think we've got this chance, we think we've got that chance, etc.
Yeah, not yet. I'm starting to get a curse, though.
Really?
A little bit, but mine is more in the moment. I will talk about a team and go, oh, that plays really nice, instantly eliminated. So it's more of an instant thing rather than a team curse like this guy over here.
Nah, hold on. We got to call you out on this.
Sure.
No, wait.
Kino? Can we talk about Kino?
No, don't
you
talk about
absolutely
Kino,
cursed that team.
I love Kinnetrope.
And dare I say it? Dare I say it? I am the reason that Team Spirit lost PMGC.
Yeah. No, that was their own fault.
That was their own.
Wait, did you also curse Team AXTMG?
Oh goodness, did I?
Because you've been really high on that team too.
They're gonna have to do. They're gonna have to do a lot today, that's for sure, to try and push themselves into a position of power. Of course, you can see here as Falcons, the previous club championship winners, placing their key upon the key crusher. However, I'm suspecting their key will not be crushed today, Max. I think that they will continue to be able to position themselves to the top 8.
It will be crushed, but in the finals, okay? It's not,
You think so?
Yeah, no.
No Falcons champion?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so for this one. I don't think Falcons have shown me enough to be a championship contender. I've had other teams on mind, but they could definitely... top 5, I think, would be definitely possible for this Falcons roster.
Right, well, congratulations, Falcons, for winning PMWC, because Max has come to a complete reverse. What? You said they're not going to win.
It is. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, congrats. GG's. You won. You did. Take it home.
We'll look back on this moment, and then they'll be like, thank you for the 1,000 points for the club championship, Max. Much appreciated. Final thoughts before we get things going, 7?
Alpha 7 needs to start off with the win if they even want to be able to do anything.
How about yourself, Nepture?
The same for the other Brazilian teams. Intense game in Influence Range.
R8, Yangon Galacticos, that's happening. I was told R8 are especially ready for this hot drop this time around. They said they eliminate them in 10 seconds.
Paradise?
You've got to be ready. Yeah. They said 10 seconds, Yangon are out.
Panic! All right, well, we are good to go. Thank you very much, guys. It is time to start Survival Stage Day 2 and see who makes it to the final.
No more safety nets, no more second chances. Today, you perform or you go home. 8 teams will have their keys destroyed in this crusher today, along with their hopes and dreams of staying in this competition. My name is Barney Banks, and I am your host for the PMWC at the 2025 ESPORTS World Cup. And it goes without saying that only the strongest teams here will have the opportunity to lift this stunning trophy. So, make every opportunity count. And with that being said, it's time to introduce your teams to the main stage, kicking things off with intense game. Nongshim Red Force. Climax Esports. Yangon Galacticos. Horror Esports. Esports. Regnum Carrier Esports. R8 Esports. Flux Esports. Team Vision. Influence Rage. E-Arena. Hinotrope Gaming. AXTMG. Team Falcons. Alpha 7 Esports. Teams enter the stage, but only 8 will make it out unscathed. Remember, we have $3 million on the line, so it is time to get serious. It is time for the final day of the survival stage. Couldn't have said it better myself, Banks. It is time to get down to business here for the survival stage. One more day will determine whether or not you move through into that grand final. One more day will determine whether or not you are eliminated. So far, so good for Power. They sit well towards the top. However, we've got a lot of teams to talk about going into our first Sandhawk Neptune. I'm coming to you first things first. Brazil is a region famed for excellent hits here in PUBG Mobile. However, they've not been able to get it done so far here.
They just haven't, have they?
No.
I mean, it's such a shock to everybody worldwide because it's sort of part of the esports thing now. It's like, well, Brazil's just going to be in finals always, all the time, and they're just looking like they're not going to. And usually, they're very aggressive, lots of control. We see them trying to do that with those edge splits as well, right? But it's just not working. And as the meta is to go center, I think a lot of the Brazilian teams have kind of just gone, if you can't join them, beat them on the edge. But the rotations are just too slow. The timing's too slow, and they get picked apart.
I mean, we called out Alpha 7. I want to call out Influence Rage. Like, 7, we covered PMGC. Such a great comeback from this team that really nobody expected when you have like Alpha 7 and all these amazing Brazilian teams and star players, and yet Influence Rage here at PMWC has just been really struggling to have an impact.
Yeah, Seven, what do you think about these Brazilian teams?
Yeah, Seven, tell us.
I'm generally surprised, actually. If we go for the Alpha 7, I feel like it set the tone yesterday, as we were talking about Fireflux setting the tone for their day yesterday on the first match for Alpha 7. They had such a great play. They have won from that position before in PMSL Americas too, but it was just silly plays. Them not being able to clear under the bridge, then also forgetting that there was a non-Shim Red Force player on the South Island as well, and then just fully sending it without any cover. It's just silly plays by Alpha 7, and that's why I'm saying they need to start off with a win. If not, they could be one of those teams that get hot drop.
They're a region alongside a lot of the other ones that we are keeping our eyes on here going into Sandhawk. I want to talk about more, but I'm getting word that the teams are ready to get into our first game. Sandhawk here for day number 2 of the survival stage. Let's head over to the casters for all of the action.
Here we are, the last day of the survival stage, the last chance and last dance for 8 rosters. Half the lobby cut in half move forward, half have their tournament lives ended. So much on the line for so many different reasons. And that team right there, Alpha 7, need to perform well. But hey, as the champions, they've got a target on their back, and everybody is going to be gunning for them, looking to eliminate them so they are not a threat, at least to them, in the final stage. I'm Taylor Reflections Double, joined by John. It's time to get today started. We move into map 1 on Sandhawk. It's always an exciting spectacle.
Maintain pace at the top of the tables. Try and engage those afterburners from the bottom. If you don't make it to the top 8, you're done. You're chucking that golden key into the crusher, and it is going to turn to dust. And it will be pretty brutal to see that happen, but right before your very eyes, and be sent home not too long afterwards. Our plane path is locked in for our Sandhawk match. We're going from Tambang up towards Hatin, so a little bit leaning towards this northwest side, and one of the few plane paths that can cause a few issues here on Sandhawk, but I'm not expecting for things to get too hot and fresh, except over on Paradise Resort.
Yes, Paradise is going to be our focal point. Yangon Galacticus R8, they had a bit of a tussle with the muscle yesterday. We might see round 2 this time around. And from what I'm hearing, one of those rosters thinks they're not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, well, we had a Maxman Brain Blast over on the desk before, and he brought us the info that R8, they're so ready. They're giga ready right now for Yangon Galacticos. They said 10 seconds, so should we start the count now or once they hit the deck? I'm not sure, but I expect it to last a little bit longer than that.
10 seconds. 10 seconds would be an impressive team wipe. I'm not going to lie. You need everything to go right. I think for at least R8, if they can win it, which I firmly believe they can. Yesterday, they showed us some of the best gameplay so far. And that includes, of course, the performance yesterday, the other day for group play. But they do land over in Paradise. We are going to have that fight. That engagement is about to go down.
And it's also Nongshim Red Force over on Ruins who have lost a player to AXTMG, who are now spread around on Tambang. They find an outpost, a really nice pickup. As we do hop in, though, to the scrap. This is longer than 10 seconds. I'm getting word that 1 minute and 47 is bigger than 10, and that is going to confirm that R8 are full of hot air.
That's it. Well, you know what? Hot air, yes, in the prediction of time constraints, but maybe not in their prediction to wipe out Yangon Galacticus. Now, we'll say they come in with so much confidence, so much reverence, but if they don't win this fight, that's going to be a big blow to their ego. And also, the stakes are pretty high for this hot drop, and the reason why, well, Yangon Galacticus is a team outside of the top 8, but barely, just barely. 34-35. 1 point puts them back into the top 8. That means they're going into finals, and already Canatrop is actually getting active, surprisingly. And Yangon Galacticus, with their head on a swivel, are starting to rotate out of Paradise and now focus, at least right now, on the solo of Canatrop.
It feels like the play there for Canatrop was that they knew there was a hot drop over in Paradise Resort. Yesterday, they wanted to try and poke their noses in, maybe set themselves up for a third party. Unfortunately, Yangon Galacticos, they actually just decide to fully disengage. A nice adaptation coming through from them. An early drop, grab a couple of weapons if you can, move on south. So Kinotrope, their outpost, that gets spotted, and instead they are the focus of the pickup. And that point goes to Yangon Galacticos. In the meantime, this AXTMG Nongshim Red Force fight that has been spread around, not inside the ruins this time, seems to be going fairly poorly for both sides.
That's right. Yeah, AXTMG got that first knock and full finish. And Nongshim Red Force, they lose one, but Red Force has fought back and managed to take down one from AXTMG. They nearly get a second, and AXTMG says, well, we're dipping out, we're trying to leave, but they actually have to park the bus a little bit. We do have a straggler. Devotee, I believe, is going to be on the hilltop just up to the left, and there he is. And Benny might be the next potential victim if he doesn't have any awareness that Devotee is just above him. And you do got some Noxious Red Force around, so it would be a big challenge. But for Benny, he's holding his ground.
Yeah, they know he's there. They know exactly what wall he's playing on. Arya drawing attention, burning Benny low as well. Another Molotov forced on through, but still Devotee not going to take the shot. Instead, he's going to leave it all up to Ryan, and it's going to work out. Another knock over towards TZ, up on the hillside as well. Leaves them playing as one, and Nongshim Red Force start out slowly. AXTMG gathering some pace.
Yeah, they had a great day one, right? 48 points. They finish up in the top 5, but there's no guarantee come game 6 that they're still going to be there with everybody gunning for a qualifying position into the finals. For Nongshim Red Force, not the start they needed, and also for Kinotrope, not the start that they wanted. They lost a solo early on to Yangon Galacticos, and well, it seems as if Yangon Galacticos was able to pull off the hat trick, picking up all 4 Kinotrope out the first team.
Trying to rotate down south, trying to get a little bit fresh and try and third-party that Paradise Resort play. Yangon Galacticos are ready for it. So it's not just R8 who were looking at adaptations there. It was Yangon Galacticos as well. A really prescient decision. And that actually allows them to pick up all the supplies that Kinotrope were able to loot through as well. So even though they had a little bit of a low time looting phase in the south side of Paradise Resort, they were able to pick up a lot because they've been able to leapfrog that one through. As we take a look at the replay, this is how Nongshim Red Force lost a lot of their players. Influence Rage as well, trying to break out a boot camp. Looks like they've moved into the hillside successfully.
Yeah, and AXTMG is most likely going to want to get the final player, Ziz, who's going to be just on the opposite side of Ruins. Big win for AXTMG. Only losing one player in that fight is pretty successful. Team way towards the bottom, getting started early. It's only going to better their chances to making top 8. Team Vision, a roster that performed very well and had stellar moments throughout group play, had a disappointing run throughout day 1 of the survival stage. A team on your screen with all 4 units, still looking to work their way up if they can. I do wonder, intense game with Adrian starts to go out there along with another one of his teammates, getting closer to AXTMG, who starts to fire off some shots. Teams need to respect AXTMG, and where they currently are in Ruins, they push too aggressively, they could be losing their lives just like Nongshim Red Force did.
The question is, even with good positions and good performances, for AXTMG, it may be too little too late, right? They're chasing a marathon down where other teams are going for a stroll around that bubble. They are on 12 points at the start of this match. Obviously, picking up 5 is brilliant, right? Sure. But when you're looking at trying to get up towards 70 points today, they need to put up over the course of the day, getting up towards, what is that, 58 points?
That's right.
To be able to get to 70 points, and even then it's not certain. So getting 58 points is almost a 10-point average. That is a top team performance level, and it will be really difficult for them to try and earn that sort of points. We'll have to see if they're able to be up to the task, because we get a replay of how Kinotrope walked into a building and did not walk out.
That's right. Solo was taken down very early on. Yangon Galacticos said, well, let's take advantage of this. Let's push into Kinotrope. We know basically where their whereabouts are going to be. And like I said, they pull off the full team wipe. Good on them. So from R8 versus Yangon Galacticos to now the fight for Paradise turns around. Yangon Galacticos are gone, and now it's Regnum Karya taking their place. R8 opposite of them. This is another tense fight to talk about what's at stake here for Regnum Karya, still relatively healthy within that top 3 position. They can have maybe 1 or 2 bad games before they start to get put on high alert. But for R8, this is a must-win fight. The shots are starting to ring out, and Regnum Karya is going to strike first.
Immediately getting that flush as well, earning that point. Damar steps up with the DPS, but it's just a little bit out of range to fully connect, and Regnum Karya just keep this unlocked 2 players almost immediately. They've survived the hot drop here, Reflections, but it feels like they weren't ready for the second phase of the game, which is called not staying in your drop location.
Now it's going to be up to 2 players from R8, and they pretty much have to fight. I mean, yeah, you can leave this, but I don't think they want to. R8 want to establish Paradise if they possibly can. Losing this could very well knock them out. I'm almost guaranteed, really, to knock them out of the top 8 contention, making them forced to fight on Arigel and Miramar. Ragnum Karya rolled in. They've been on fire throughout day 1 of the survival stage. They clearly are already off to a great start with 2 players down. Prestige, Marth, they are gone, forced to disengage, and now fight the entire lobby as a duo.
Now let's take a look at the rest of the lobby as well. The circle has centered up towards the north side of Quarry here, which means that there are teams on either side of the Quarry that are going to be able to be a massive barrier to rotations around this circle. Alpha 7 are actually in a very solid spot on the northeast side of this Quarry to stop teams from moving around that east side. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to farm too many points for it. Well, they'll maybe get 4 from Gamax unless the Falcons try and roll in behind them from Cave on that east side. It's that west side that's going to get a little bit more fraught, and that is going to be up to Fireflux. It's going to be up to E-Arena to be holding down the west side of that Quarry position.
But again, with Alpha 7 being in the position they currently are in the survival stage, a chance to potentially not make it into finals to defend their title, they've got a target on their back. And for Gamax, if they see him, maybe they want to go for the challenge. Hora, you got Fireflux, right? E-Arena, they see Alpha 7, maybe they get a bit more aggressive and put a little bit of extra attention on where they currently are. But I agree with you, John, where Alpha 7 is currently at, I'm feeling quite confident. We look at Falcons, Narvalo with Redox. And Narvalo, that beautiful 1v3 against the roster of Alpha 7 yesterday, put them into the grave in game number 5. But one of the teams that was hurting Falcons the most yesterday was R8. This time around, it doesn't look like they're most likely going to run into each other. Even if they do, Falcons is going to have the numbers, so they might be able to beat their boogeyman. But for Falcons' sake, looking good. You got all the members up. They've got a lot of real estate, not only in front of them, but also behind them, basically a limited line of sight. So for Falcons, I'm expecting a pretty decent game 1, which is historically what they normally start off with.
Well, they'll have to try and keep this one going. They're right on the edge of the south side. They're worried about crossings to their west. They needn't be, but they don't know that, of course. They're worried about teams moving down the west side, rotating in late, coming in from that south edge. There is currently no one playing that area, but they are just being careful. They're crossing their I's and dotting their T's at the moment as it goes. You know, you can flip that one around if you want to, but I prefer this way.
Fair enough. All right, dangerously close to Vision. Volt being the scout. Maybe he calls out R8's weak. Maybe Vision chooses to challenge. But for now, that hasn't occurred. Intense game still out in the blue zone. Forced to go down south across Paradise. Maybe Ragnum Karya, being the aggressive roster they are, spot them out and potentially go for a challenge. But I expect IG is going to be just fine. We'll have a zone shift relatively soon. And it is going to center up a little bit. Alpha 7 still feeling pretty good. Fireflux dead center. Vision okay. Yang on Galacticus. And Ragnum Karya starting to get relatively close. So once IG, Power, right, AXTMG, and especially Falcons way down towards the south start to come up, Falcons especially are going to have their hands full with E-Arena and Alpha 7.
We've got a couple of teams on the linchpin positions here. Power, they're going to have to make a decision as to where to move. So that southwest side, the dynamics of it are really going to change depending on if they go north, if they go in towards the center, if they try and head east and fight E-Arena. We've also got that position on the southeast, and Gamax behind Alpha 7 could change things up. There's also that wild card of the Falcons. Everybody else has fairly linear approaches. It can get a little bit predictable, but those are the places where I think things could really change depending on how they want to approach this one.
Gamax, Alpha 7 starting to inch closer and closer to each other. Brinko is way off in the distance. I don't know why he's currently there. He needs to get up there and join his roster if they want any attempt at attacking Alpha 7. But for the meantime, they're just going to continue to be very aware of where they currently are at, but they don't want to challenge necessarily. I do notice Influence Rage, though, as well as AXTMG are starting to get very close. And here comes that Regnum Karya IG rotation. IG going straight past Regnum Karya. The question is, where do they stop? Well, Toshpik says enough is enough. I'm ready to fight.
Vision not quite having sightlines over towards Regnum Karya. Keeps them safe for the moment. An intense game, actually sending out further towards the north, trying to get an angle onto Regnum Karya's rotate in, but they're not going to quite find it there. They're keeping it on lock and key. But there's the first knock, and Rafa lands the spray down onto Wild. Are they going to commit to go for this res? It looks like they want to, but the nades are going to follow it up. That's going to do a lot of damage. Not quite finding the flush just yet.
Knowing intense game, they want to push this. You notice Silence starting to push forward. He's going to take an advanced spot. Silence, though, caught off guard to the left, takes a bit of damage, and now you've got to back up and join your roster. Well, no, maybe push forward. Silence wants to continue. They know they have an early knock. They have the man advantage. Question is, can they continue to take apart Regnum Karya? And the answer is yes. Silas, a power player in his own right, also down. Regnum Karya down to 2.
And there is a res coming on through. Toshpik next to fall down to the floor there, and Regnum Karya all of a sudden relying on Loxy, but he has got the beans. Let's see if he can jump into the fight. Silence now, going low behind the car, will have to hide, go for the heal. Loxy on full HP, but he threads the needle, and the shot is good. A 1v2, Yangon Galacticos could potentially move into third party, but they backed off. He's still going. Loxy has more legs in this.
Yeah, Loxy definitely can pull this off if he's careful. Petrino, though, snake in the grass through the smoke. I think he's going to be the linchpin. Loxy takes damage, forced to retreat, and that's going to be, I believe, SayCloud, if I'm not mistaken, just from behind, taking him out with the third party.
A big flex out into the blue zone there from Yangon Galacticos. He read that he couldn't get a sightline from where he was. He moved out into the blue. It's stage 4. You can survive for long enough, and he took down Regnum Karya. They end their match with only 2 points from that northern side.
But the good thing is, for intense game coming from the Americas region, they got all 4 alive, and they're getting their health back, and now they can challenge Yangon Galacticos. This game could be a stellar one and a great start for Intense Game to make a miracle run for top 8. The Brazilian team's underperforming. That's what the desk said, and I fully agree, even from the Americas region, right? I'm super passionate about them. But for Intense Game, this is a great start. Silence once again trying to be that aggressor. This time, he gets fully punished.
Taken down and flushed very, very quickly there. Nades now pouring in. Intense Game wants some retribution, but Yangon Galacticos won't go down quietly. They left from Paradise Resort. They sliced through Kiratrope. I know their walkout looked like they had the samurai swords, but they've been turned on their owners there, drawn and thrust back to the gut from Yangon Galacticos, and they are playing well from this northern edge.
Intense Game knew they needed to continue to push forward. They're so close to the edge of zone. You can see it here, right? So one thing that I really appreciated for Yangon Galacticos' perspective is they backed away and forced IG to push into him.
Oh, a big nade coming through on the southeast side. Alpha 7, they're starting to fumble on the southeast edge. Finally an answer over towards Yangon over towards Gamax, sorry. But that's Alpha 7 out. 7 said it on the desk. They need to kick off with a win. They've just been denied that. Neptura said it on the desk. So do the other Brazilian teams. And that's the same story for Intense Game on the north.
Alpha 7, I'm ringing the alarm bells. Starting now, game 1. They are already out. They get away with 1 point. They were already outside of top 8. Alpha 7 struggles continue. And the fact that Gamax, who's been on the struggle bus, takes them out. A full team wipe. Everybody stays alive. I'm really worried for our A7 boys.
Are Alpha 7 bad?
Hold on, slow down. I don't think they're bad whatsoever, but something is just not clicking, and I sincerely don't know what it is.
Well, Power seem to have found it. They are going to mount up for an approach towards AXTMG's players who are starting to flag. I think it's just Devotee left. There's nade pouring in on his rock, and it looks like they know exactly where he is. A slow approach from Power onto this circle. I said that they could be the wild card here on the southwestern side, but they have played it sensibly. They've lost 1 player in this fight, but they have managed to rack up a point. They're looking to clear out slowly and methodically. E-Arena, I'm worried about what they could do to this one, though. You can see them start to poke their noses in from the east edge. You've also got Influence Rage, who have gone 2-2 on the western side.
Yeah, Influence Rage is going to be me. I think that's going to be the team to try and maybe third party this truly from Team Power's perspective. But you do mention E-Arena, and Joker is relatively close, so he can push up. So worst case scenario for Power, they get pincered between E-Arena as well as Influence Rage. Rage, not a good spot to be in. An Influence Rage and both E-Arena do get active, firing in on Power Esports.
Well, through the midst of all of that action that's just unfolded before us, the north side fights, the south side wiping of Alpha 7 to ostensibly the worst team in the tournament, there is going to also be that Falcons rotation, right? We were looking at that Falcons position on that south side. They have gone for a little bit of a miracle dash. It's something that we've seen them do before, right into the middle of the circle. They're now holding two really important buildings. Shacks, fair enough, but important buildings in this next zone. They have cover, they can play to the south side to hold it, and everybody else who could crash onto their locations right now, they're being held out by one another. Once those fights conclude, Falcons are going to be a little bit more under pressure. As soon as Gamex are free to go, the south two for Falcons are in danger. Aura, once they disengage from R8's last players, they could be in danger as well from that direction on the northeast.
Ying Yang Galactica sit at a current 6 eliminations and more potentially to come as they focus their attention on Division. But Volt hits a nasty shot from a distance in conjunction with Marcelo. Volt will continue to reposition, maybe challenging that of Romeo. Ralph, by the way, for Falcons looking to get revenge onto Gamex for taking on Alpha 7. Romeo continuing to hit some nasty shots. Vision putting up a wonderful fight. This could go any which way for Ying Yang Galacticus. Well, only one more player remains. Hora is starting to also get in onto the Vision fight. Noah, very weak. Marcelo should very weak himself, but manages to stay alive, believe it or not.
Yango Galacticos chiming in. Romeo's still alive and still giving it large. One player down on the backlines for Vision now. Just one player remaining left standing for them. Noah desperately trying to get the res, but he has to face the fight first. And Sky, Jiggle, both pouring damage down over this hillside. Sleepy's there with a backup in the ghillie suit, and it will go undetected by them. Over on the north side, Vision are wiped away, and Aura will continue for that fight on the northern edge, but the Falcons continue to take shots across every which way.
Yeah, that's right. And even when Hora ends up winning this, they need to move forward, and you got Falcons who's ready to gun you down. Gamex as well, and I'm loving where Fireflux is currently at, pretty much having the only hard cover POIs outside of Narvalo and Ralph and Redox, who's going to be for Falcons, relatively split. Gamex has been on a terror. 4 eliminations, I know that doesn't seem like much, but for a Gamex roster who has yet to show themselves, not only do they take down Alpha 7, but they're also challenging the top dogs of Falcons, who are currently up top. But this fight, this push up the hill, it's almost impossible.
It is very, very difficult when you're dealing with players that are sat up in that watchtower. You need to plant those nades in. You need to be accurate and deadly with them. But Ralph seems to know where he's fighting against. So do they. They bobble a nade over, but don't find the knock. They need some backup here. It is just Ralph on this position. Narvalo is off in the distance. They're playing split right now. And Arthur puts another stone up. Over the top, doesn't fully connect. In the meantime, Narvalo's soloing Aura on that northeast side. And actually, Aura could change the tune of this one.
Yes,
they could roll straight into Gamex instead of uphill towards Ralph.
They absolutely could, and if they take down Gamex, surely they're going to take down the 2 from Team Falcons. Ralph repositions. E-Arena could also fire some shots on his back end. He needs to be very aware of his surroundings and who is currently at play. Ora, nade onto Arthur, going to be a bit short. They've got to continue to push up. For Falcons, though, continually getting picked apart. Joker takes down another from the Falcons roster, leaving them as a duo. Hora starting to tighten the vice grip, getting closer and closer to Gamex. Gamex needs to be ready for the attack.
Arthur first to face with the shotgun, but from a distance it's E-Arena, forcing him closer on the rock. Doesn't have time to heal before No Fear puts the nade in, and that could be terminal for them. A last player to stand, a damage lick sent back towards him, but there is just no way that he's going to be able to pick this one up. Unfortunately, the first aid actually coming through. Aura, okay, they're slowing down. That cut across from E-Arena doing a lot of work as the Falcons get taken down in the meantime.
I don't mind the slowdown. Only one more player to remember from Gamex, and I do hope they do remember. We have seen solos wreak havoc on rosters who are even 4 stacks. We witnessed it yesterday with Catch. We can witness it once again here. E-Arena starting to take down Influence Rage. The solo from Gamex getting active onto Hora. Jiggle's going to be down. Luckily, they recover. They take him out. The question is, will Hora have to fight at it with 3? Yes, they will. A full elimination. Law, he'll go ahead and die to the blue zone. We're down to our top 3 at the moment, and a great start for Fireflux, who started the day in first place, looking to take game 1, but Sleepy has other plans.
He wants to go a little bit further on this one, just about darts out of the blue in time to prevent himself from getting knocked. Fireflux back up now. They will be getting to 3, so it is 3 players alive on all of our remaining squads. The circle shifting away from Fireflux, though, makes this really tough. E-Arena sit dominantly on the high ground as well. You can see what a lovely angle Mormon has. So does No Fear over towards Fireflux, and it is really trading off that aggro. Aura, they do lose one to a knock, and E-Arena should have this on lockdown as 2 players now sit right on the back to the blue for Aura.
E-Arena could jump all the way up into top 5. Massive gain for them, but E-Arena has also been on fire. They've been playing very well, with them having 3 players and the high ground. Hora has no choice but to use the natural terrain, a.k.a. the rocks, and just kind of bunny hop between them. Mormon, who's been the linchpin for this roster, he has been so very impressive, not only in group stages, but also the survival side of things. Sakura taking some damage. Mormon starting to push up, but no drama here. E-Arena takes game number 1 in scintillating sensational fashion, and that should jump them up into top 5.
Big news here on this match. Alpha 7 again go down early, intense game. Not a great performance from them. Influence Rage still in 10th place as well. The Brazilian teams are faltering, they are fumbling, and it may be the twilight of the region here at the PMWC. They need to stand up tall because teams like E-Arena, teams like Fireflux, teams like the Falcons and Regnum Kaya will take them on any day of the week. You cannot let off the pace because this is what happens.
That's it. Big hits to some top dogs, but for others starting to shine true. Top 8's getting competitive without question. It's still easy to break in. I say easy with an asterisk. Of course, I'm only talking in terms of the amount of points needed to break into top 8 for some of the rosters down below the threshold. But they start to get serious. That's 1 game done and only 5 more games remain. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, game 2, we're heading into Arrogel. Coming your way.
Cybertron's future is near. Autobots, roll out! ignites my spark. We'll crown a new lord of Cybertron. Roll for freedom. A victory for all sentient beings.
And caught up with none other than the coach from Power Esports, Hexy. Thank you so much for joining me. I got to ask you though, coming into the survival stage, having finished second place in many of the MENA tournaments, is there now an added pressure to surpass the Falcons here at PMWC?
We don't have any pressure. We just try to be as much good as we can. Our point is not getting first, second place. We just play our games and try to be as much consistent as we can.
Do you feel like the Falcons are coming into this event looking pretty strong?
Yes, they are a good team. We respect them, but we will try our best to surpass every team. We don't have a specific team to watch. So we just play our games.
And talking a little bit more about yesterday's matches here at the survival stage, you walked away with one chicken dinner, which congratulations on that front. However, 2 of those matches, you were the first team that was eliminated. What do you really think went wrong there?
One of the games that were because of hot drop, which depends on 50-50. Either you win, either you lose. And the lack of data that we didn't expect them to on our spot. So they landed and we had a fight, then we got a fair party. So it was a tough game, but we tried to fix that, and we already fixed it.
You already fixed it. Does that mean heading into the final day of survival stage, you're pretty confident you have a little bit more reliable data to work off of?
Yeah, every day we play, we get more data about teams and where they go, how the style they play.
Yeah.
So our style should be and will be the same. So we just try to avoid on the first game fights. Then we will try to play our game depending on the timings and the data the players will get.
Well, I want to end off this interview by asking you to give a message to the rest of the teams that you'll be facing here at the final day of survival stage.
We are Power Esports and we don't fear anyone. We'll try our best to beat every single team.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining me and good luck.
You're welcome.
A Sandhog game, not ending on the Northwest Island. It's Christmas. We've got ourselves a brilliant game coming out from E-Arena, who were able to control the cliff sides, able to dominate the rest of the competition here in the jungle. Welcome back. I'm breaking down this game alongside Neptura, as well as Maxman here. And we have got good old E-Arena with a brilliant little win here, Maxman.
Oh, yeah, good old SEA chicken dinner. We love to see it. No, it was a very solid game from them. They were playing a very good compound on the road trifecta next to boot camp the entirety of the game. It kept shifting away, and they played it very safe, playing on the lower side of the cliff, trying to avoid all of these big early fights, all the early altercations, and because of that, a lot of the teams were wounded, and that's how they can sneak their way into the circle to get the win, especially thanks to Mormon's angle.
Yes, Max. No, I'm doing that as a meme. I'm doing it as a meme. No, I did like how they played that. They were able to really effectively use the back of the zone to actually use that and to make sure that nobody else was going to come in. Use that kind of as a wall to just push forward and forward and forward, and it worked out really brilliantly for them. However, they're not going to be at the top of that ranking in terms of points. It's going to be Hora, who did step up in the end game, just trying to third party as much as possible, and look where it's gotten them.
Hurrah! No, they're very excited about that game.
No.
Oh no, we're doing it again. No, actually, they were on a big sweeping motion onto the eastern side, just clearing all the teams. They got rid of R8. They had a really good compound control. Very strong third party, specifically onto the side of GMX. They were fighting another squad over there. I think it was Falcons. And actually just able to take full control of the east. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the chicken dinner, but it was enough to be the top team in terms of points overall. So Hora really starting to play a lot more aggressive, which normally in CSA they're quite a bit more passive, but here they've really woken up and know that if they want to make it in the top 8, they need to get elimination points on board.
Definitely come alive in the survival stage, right? I mean, there were moments in the group stage that I don't think we should really discredit too much here, but for survival, looking brilliant here, Neptura, and considering the position that they were coming in from, considering everything, all the components of this game, I think it lined up really nicely.
It did land really nicely, and I think it's been really interesting to see how they adapt to the more global lobby, because you're right, we've seen something kind of very different from them in CSA, but to come into global and not so much control with that more passive just zone control that we're so used to seeing, it is actually controlling with those third parties, which isn't full aggression. It's not a full confrontation 4v4 fight. So it is tweaking it, but it is just making sure that they are more aggressive, able to get more points, and actually reading the lobby really well.
Especially in CSA, I kept describing them as a very good defensive team. We take a strong position, we defend until the very end. It's nice to see them be an aggressive team looking for breaches and third parties and then being successful while doing so. And I think that gives me really good hype around them as to how they could play going into the finals, of course, if they qualify, but they're looking pretty good, so I think the top 8 is in the cards for them.
We have our eye on them. And another team that we have our eye on, of course, is Falcons coming into today, who actually got dispatched of relatively quickly by good old GMX down towards the bottom of the tables here, Max, who are fighting back. Let's take a look at one of these moments here and see kind of how things went down.
GMX taking heads. Okay, they take down Alpha 7 and Falcons, 2 favorites. So we had at the very start, like, they're going to make it top 8 pretty easily. But no, GMX are here. And actually, the first fight they took was against none other than Alpha 7. Alpha 7, by the way, did not have a bad game here because they actually had a really good rotate. They go from their 2-2 split, regroup on this compound, but GMX, they find one knock, maybe an angle of Alpha 7 was just not fully covered. And I tell you, the speed at which they committed was mind-boggling. They fully sent on the compound, all 4 players, overwhelm Alpha 7 in the matter of 10 to 15 seconds, and the squad wipe is instantaneous. GMX, if they want to do a comeback here to make it in the top 8 against teams like Alpha 7, they've got to keep this going the entire day, and maybe top 8 could be possible for them.
Another team I want to focus on, of course, here is Fireflux. They've done amazingly here in the survival stage, but just slipping a little bit here in the final moments, Neptura.
Yeah, I think we thought they were going to win. You were like, yeah, they're Fireflux, they're going to win. But I think at that point, at the point that when they tried to actually do something, it was too late because they had the low ground and that particular ridgeline or hillside was so open.
Yeah.
Hora had eyes on them, E-Arena had eyes on them. It would have been much better if they had maybe one zone before, at least just like 30 seconds before, right before the zone closes, use that space that's technically outside a zone to wrap around outside and come in behind E-Arena. I think that would have had a much better chance for them to win longevity-wise because E-Arena were just able to use that ridge so effectively. That could have been Fireflux if they'd been a bit more proactive.
I think there's a big issue when you stay in a compound on the edge for a little bit too long as you become very predictable. Teams knew that they were going to be exiting from that main building onto the southern eastern edge, so they're just like, we hold angles against that, Fireflux, you're not going to exit that compound whatsoever. So Fireflux, again, a team that we know can be very strong, but here a little bit too slow and a bit too passive. I think if they were more punishing, maybe as you said, Niptra, maybe 30 seconds earlier, maybe they just control the entire circle and take home that chicken dinner.
I think that's a good breakdown, guys, because obviously they're looking great at the top, but they could be smashing even more here in the survival stage and really making a statement. Well, as you can see, we are getting ready for Erangel. Make sure to check out the map feed as well, which is live over. You can now head over to the casters for the grassy pastures. Erangel on the cards.
Thank you very much. I am Taylor Reflections Noble, ready for this game here to get started. It is going to be a scintillating sensation of a game, and I am pumped.
Wow, John, that was phenomenal reflections. Yeah, you sound great. You sound proper Texan, I would have to say. By the way, you're in the same room as me. You start picking on me a little bit too much. I am bigger than you. I want you to throw you out.
Yeah, but I've got my name on my socks.
So, what? What kind of comeback? Yo, I'm going to take you out. Oh, don't worry. I got my name on my socks.
Yeah, they're going to be able to tell which bits of me
there you go.
left.
That's what I'm thinking once I remove you from this room, man.
Hey, look. We're gonna put our differences aside
we
for now.
love each other.
Because we have a communal hatred for Alpha 7. They're doing really poorly right now. Yeah, everybody in this room hates Alpha 7 right now. They are so bad at video games.
No, Alpha 7 are okay. Look, the thing about Alpha 7 is they can come back. They really can. But I can't dispute it. Like, they are on the struggle bus. things are not going okay for them, and I am sincerely starting to get worried. Now, we did notice yesterday Alpha 7 did land Lapoca for the first time in PMWC. That's normally their go-to spot for the Americas region. Of course, here for PMWC, they've been going up towards Georgia Pole. That's been their location. So I wonder if now they're maybe starting to go back to their default spots that put them at PMWC to begin with. With the way Squash and all the co from Alpha 7, I believe they are in fact going to be going to their OG landing spot. So now we're going back to what worked during Americas, what has worked in seasons previously. I like this because Alpha 7 are in trouble. They've been trying new things. Now it's time to go back to what has worked, your bread and butter.
I mean, this could also be an artifact of the plane path as well, right? This plane path, very eastern leaning from Stalba down to the middle of Sosnovka military base. It feels like a backup drop for Alpha 7. I wouldn't be too surprised over the next 2 matches to see them go back over there.
Oh my gosh.
This is a pretty nasty circle. Okay, let's kick things off with an eastern plane path and a hard southwest circle.
Wow.
This is also nasty because it's on the late end of the plane path. There's a hot drop on a vehicle there. I think that's in Intense Game, who have just lost a player. I believe they've gone down to Ora, if I'm not mistaken, over by Yasnaya on a vehicle hot drop there. Our only casualty so far. Maybe a little bit more as well. As Power drop one out, Evo T tries to give him the runaround. He says, I'm going to dodge this vehicle. They can't get through the rock. And he's like, yeah, but I've got a gun, mate.
He's got a gun, and the gun wins over the night. Power, one of the top slaying teams when it comes to Arigel, at least historically here for our survival stage, elimination-wise, averaging, 7 or a little over 7. They start off with an elim early on. Good for them. Everybody's going to quickly try and rotate over. There's so much water in the current stage 1 that you have to get some real estate as much as you can on mainland. And I love that Falcons, Kinotrope are taking early priority. Let's not forget Kinotrope, a team that is looking to work their way up in the top 8. Fully eliminated early on in the initial fight against Jangon Galacticus on Sandhawk Map 1. So they are desperately needing a solid game 2 and onwards. But for Falcons, if they can get center zone, maybe even get on that shoreline, they could have a wonderful game here.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it is a pretty dramatic circle in terms of landmass, but what it doesn't do is necessarily put a massive hurry up, because it's on the mainland. These rotational paths will be known, and generally teams will be comfortable getting into this area of the map, right? It's not too different from if it was just a little bit further north and it didn't have as much water on the south edge. The difficulty will start to come on through in towards stage 2, stage 3, after these first rotational plays have been made and moving on through that way. With 2 players going down so far on a hard east plane path, not necessarily unexpected, but the thing I'm looking at right now is Otter and Influence Rage and Yasnaya Polyana.
Yeah, they're very, very close to each other. That fight most likely going down. Again, an important one to say the least. For Ora, they are towards the top end of the standings. They naturally want to continue to separate themselves, not only for the money, but also for a guaranteed spot in the finals on our next stage. But for Influence Rage's perspective, I mean, truly at the moment, the crown jewel for Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break into top 8 and represent Americas in the finals. If it's not for Influence Rage, it's not going to be an intense game. They're a little bit too far down. Alpha 7, so many question marks on them. So Influence Rage winning a fight against Ora here could be massive and bumping them up the standings.
The question is, do either team want to engage?
Not at all.
Right? It looks like they dropped close and looted away from one another. And in general, I would imagine that is what is on their minds right now. Meanwhile, over on the rest of the map, it's Regnum Kaya crossing the Ganka fields. Falcons, they've sent a scout out ahead, but Regnum Kaya could potentially pinch that away and cut off that supply line behind them. It looks like Falcons are on a 2-2 right now, I think. It could be a 3-1, I'm not entirely sure on our map feed. But either way, Regnum Kaya seem to be descending on that forward position for the Falcons, and that could be nasty, depending on how fast the Falcons can regroup. Yep. They are about 500 meters out for getting fully on the regroup, but Ralph goes down, and Regnum Kaya wastes no time.
That's right, Regnum Kaya is starting to get active. I believe it was a 2-2 split. It was Koa with Redux who were on the advanced position, and well, now he's got Narvalo and Co starting to move through, and Wild is most likely going to be shot at relatively soon, you would have to think. For Falcons' perspective, losing one hurts, though. They were not wanting that, but that's kind of reminiscent of what they've been doing. Falcons love sending a scout player up ahead. Sometimes it burns them, sometimes it works out well.
How have AXTMG made their way along this coast?